Hi guys, how you all doing? Um, okay, yeah, I thought for today's video I'd talk about hallucinations, hallucinating, yeah, seeing things that aren't there, etc., etc. It's not an easy subject to talk about. I mean, just the word hallucination seems to frighten some people. I can kind of understand why, but in my own experience, because I, from a young age, kind of dabbled with mind altering practices. It wasn't as scary to me. But I am qualified to talk about hallucinating because I've myself have had countless hallucinations. And not like you might expect purely because of drugs, also because of fatigue, and also because of sleep deprivation. I mean, literally, I have had some pretty you know, I don't know what the word is, but I've had some pretty outrageous hallucinations. The last time it happened to me was in St Anne's Hospital, and I was in the what they call the quiet room, which is basically where you're put if you become a little bit violent or whatever. And that was actually the last time that I hallucinated was one of the most intense. I mean, the whole floor just opened up, and no matter where I looked, I was hallucinating. Um, and there are different kinds of hallucinations. What most people experience is what they call pareidolia, which is kind of like, when kids see faces in the clouds, or I don't know how to fully explain the psychology of pareidolia, but basically, yeah, you could call it seeing faces in the clouds, or in the trees, or in the grass, or um, on smudges of various sorts. That's one type of hallucination. There are others. There's another type which is not pareidolia, which is kind of like more like apparitions. And the first time I properly hallucinated was of the apparitional order, and that was in the New Forest when I was about 18. And I'd walked from Dorchester to Southampton, but before I got to Southampton, I was in the New Forest. And at the time, it was quite overwhelming and bizarre, but oddly beautiful as well. I was seeing all kinds of stuff. I don't remember if it was a full moon at the time. And also back in those days, or back when I had that hallucination in New Forest, I didn't need glasses to see. So the apparition, it's very hard to explain what happened. But to say it again, I am qualified to talk about hallucinating because I have done myself countless times, quite often um, in incarcerated environments, in hospital, and in the overnight cells. I've been drinking too much. And on that note, I'll tell you here and now that alcohol is a hallucinogenic drug. Alcohol will make you hallucinate. You just have to drink for a few days quite heavily. I mean, obviously, with LSD, you just get a tiny little microdot like that. Then LSD is measured in micrograms, whereas alcohol is measured in pints and quarts. But I've actually found that the hallucinations from alcohol can be more intense than the other drugs, despite the fact that you have to drink for quite a few days to get to that point. Last time that happened to me was in 2016 in Guildford, after I'd been drinking for 2 or 3 days. Um, but yeah, hallucinations. I think if you get involved in magic and mysticism and the occult in general, sooner or later you're going to have a hallucination experience. I think it's kind of like inevitable. I think it's kind of almost necessary to have that experience to enlarge the parameters of your consciousness. But on that note, I'll say that I'm quite glad that the hallucinations that I had didn't last very long. A few hours here, a few hours there. I would not like to be in that state of mind constantly. I've heard stories about people that took enormous amounts of LSD or mescaline who were hallucinating for weeks. I met a chap in hospital who took a whole bottle of not microdots, but something like that. He was in a hospital bed for weeks hallucinating. So I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Uh, and then when you're talking about hallucinations, if you know anything about Crowley and ceremonial magic, you come up against the idea of evocation of spirits, what's termed as evocation to visible appearance. And that in itself is a whole nother video. Yeah, it's just an unrehearsed video about it. I didn't plan what I was going to say about this subject, but I'll leave it at that for now. Anyway, okay.